After 27 years, the X-Men are finally back. Let's recap everything from X-Men 97 Season 1. The story continues 1 year after Professor Xavier's death. Mercenaries capture Roberto da Costa because he is a mutant and place a collar on him. Roberto tries to negotiate his release, but they ignore him. Soon, they sense something dangerous hunting them in the shadows. Storm arrives and uses her powers to defeat their leader and attack the group. Bishop joins her and destroys their weapons, but both are knocked out by a powerful explosion. The mercenaries then attempt to capture Roberto again. Cyclops is waiting in the shadows and attacks with optic blasts, scattering the enemies. The leader responds with advanced weapons and captures him. They remove Cyclops' glasses to suppress his powers, but instead he unleashes a massive, uncontrollable burst of energy. Cyclops later argues with Gambit about missing from the previous fight. Rogue steps in to calm him down. Morph appears disguised as Professor Xavier, speaking in his voice. Gambit throws an explosive card, which Jean deflects. It is revealed that Jean is pregnant, adding tension to the team. Roberto wakes up in a laboratory, and they explain that he is there for protection, but he doesn't understand who the X-Men are. In the Danger Room, he is trained against simulated enemies and is eventually defeated by Wolverine. Cyclops and Jean contact Dr. Cooper at the United Nations to investigate the Friends of Humanity and Sentinel technology. They continue mourning Xavier. Jean hopes for a peaceful future for her unborn child, while Cyclops struggles with anger and grief. A basketball crashes through a window, increasing tension in the mansion. Jubilee complains about Logan's behavior, and Cyclops orders Logan to stop. Jean then asks him to find and bring Roberto back. They arrive at a club where Roberto is. The Friends of Humanity also arrive to capture Roberto. Jubilee finds Roberto dancing and joins him. Meanwhile, the others defeat the mercenaries and escape together. Cyclops and Storm question Gyrich in prison about Sentinel technology. Cyclops orders Jean to use telepathy, but she is overwhelmed by disturbing visions during the process. Later, they travel to the Sahara Desert to stop Trask and Master Mold from building a Sentinel army. Their jet is attacked and damaged mid-flight. Cyclops destroys a robot with optic blasts, and the team falls through the air. Storm and Rogue rescue the teammates mid-fall, while Cyclops lands using his powers. They battle Sentinels, and Storm summons a massive storm that destroys many of them. Wolverine and Gambit work together to destroy Master Mold's head, ending the threat. The United Nations forces arrive and arrest Trask. Back at the Academy, Jubilee and Roberto talk. Roberto describes his solar powers as a curse. The team later plays basketball, but tension rises when they discover Magneto inside Xavier's office. At a carnival, Magneto unexpectedly saves civilians from a collapsing Ferris wheel. Cyclops feels conflicted about Xavier not choosing him as successor, while Jean comforts him. The Friends of Humanity capture teenage mutants, but Magneto arrives and defeats them, rescuing the captives. Later, they debate Magneto's role. Magneto proposes protecting mutants worldwide, but trust remains uncertain. The United Nations forces arrive to arrest Magneto. He briefly resists but ultimately surrenders. Dr. Cooper presents accusations during his trial, while anti-mutant protests grow outside. Magneto speaks in court, condemning humanity's treatment of mutants. Suddenly, attackers storm the courtroom, and the X-Men step in to protect civilians. Jean goes into labor during the chaos. Wolverine rushes her to the hospital. Executioner, using Sentinel technology, defeats several X-Men. Morph protects Cyclops and is the only one able to hold his ground against the Executioner. At the hospital, doctors refuse to help Jean give birth to her mutant child until Rogue and Cyclops force them to proceed. Meanwhile, Storm and Magneto use metal structures to contain the riot outside. The Executioner attacks Magneto, but Storm sacrifices herself to protect him and loses her powers as a result. Magneto defeats the Executioner and warns the court about ongoing injustice. He lifts the entire courtroom into the sky, showing overwhelming power, but spares everyone. Jean gives birth to Nathan. The United Nations pardons Magneto and recognizes Genosha as a mutant nation. Storm, now powerless, leaves the Academy in sorrow. Later, a woman identical to Jean is found unconscious at the Academy. Beast discovers through DNA analysis that she is the real Jean, while the one with the team is a clone. Cyclops is shaken by the revelation. Meanwhile, Mr. Sinister reveals the truth about Jean and her clone. The clone Jean awakens under his control and begins following his orders, calling him father. The mansion becomes possessed. They are forced to face their worst fears in a hell-like dimension. Cyclops believes the clone Jean is responsible. Bishop destroys demonic creatures, but a larger one appears. The real Jean arrives, stops the chaos, and collapses. The clone Jean returns as the Goblin Queen, kidnaps Nathan, and escapes. Magneto and Rogue arrive to assist. Cyclops blames himself, while Magneto decides to launch a direct attack on Sinister. Guided by Morph, they reach Sinister's castle. The Goblin Queen easily defeats Magneto and the team. The real Jean enters a psychic battle against her clone, reliving memories and reconnecting with her love for Nathan. She regains control and frees herself from Sinister's influence. She reunites with Cyclops, and together they confront Sinister. They retrieve Nathan, but discover he is infected with a deadly virus. Beast explains that the only solution is to send him into the future with Bishop. Cyclops is devastated as Nathan is sent away. The clone Jean leaves the academy while the real Jean reconciles with Cyclops. He mourns the loss of his family. In Texas, Storm meets Forge, who tries to help restore her powers. His machine fails, and he admits his technology contributed to mutant oppression. Storm leaves, but is pulled into a demonic dimension by the adversary. At the academy, Jubilee celebrates her 18th birthday. She and Roberto are trapped in a video game controlled by Mojo, where they are forced to fight through levels as entertainment for a universe-wide audience. They are briefly saved by Abscissa, a beta version digital copy of Jubilee. She helps them understand the illusion and guides them to escape. Working together, they manage to defeat Mojo and return to reality. In relief, Jubilee kisses Roberto. In Texas, Forge continues to care for Storm, while the adversary grows stronger by feeding on her suffering. Storm confronts the demon again, and Forge uses ancient knowledge to banish it. Storm then goes to recover a special cactus needed to fully heal Forge. On Genosha, Magneto, Gambit, and Rogue arrive and are welcomed by the population, along with Madeline. Nightcrawler reunites with Gambit and Rogue and shows them the peaceful city. Rogue enjoys the celebration, while Gambit feels uneasy. At the academy, Cyclops is interviewed, while Jean avoids questions. Logan finds her, and she confesses her feelings before kissing him. Cyclops becomes angry during his interview when asked about Nathan, and walks out. Meanwhile, Magneto is offered kingship over Genosha by the Council, and he agrees only if Rogue becomes his queen. Cyclops struggles emotionally, while Madeline briefly comforts him through a psychic link, leading to a kiss before the real Jean interrupts. Later, Rogue tells Gambit about her past with Magneto. Gambit accepts it despite the pain. At Magneto's coronation, Rogue dances with him in the air, but ultimately refuses his proposal. Madeline senses something wrong, steps outside and meets Cable, who warns her of an attack and is sent back to the future, revealing that he is her son Nathan. Master Mold launches a massive Sentinel assault on Genosha, destroying the island. Magneto orders evacuation and protects the Morlocks, ultimately sacrificing himself to save them. Rogue tries to fight Master Mold, but Gambit stops her and instead sacrifices himself by overloading it with explosive energy, destroying it at the cost of his life. Later, everyone mourns their fallen allies as war spreads across the galaxy. During the Kree-Shi'ar conflict, Empress Lilandra Naramani announces her engagement to Xavier, now a cosmic intelligence. Her sister Deathbird opposes the union. Deathbird demands Xavier erase his Earth memories to prove loyalty. He refuses, causing tension among the Royal Guard. Gladiator defends Lilandra, and Xavier brings everyone into an astral plane to teach coexistence. Meanwhile, Storm and Forge continue their battle against the adversary. Aurora ventures into dangerous tunnels to find a sacred cactus, while the demon assaults her mind once again. Nearly consumed by its influence, Storm reaches her breaking point, but at her lowest moment she regains complete control and fully becomes Storm again, unleashing 1,000 storms. She brings Forge back to his ranch and heals him with the sacred cactus, only for them to soon learn about the destruction of Genosha. In space, Xavier, while teaching, he receives a distress signal from Earth. Gambit is dead, and the X-Men are in danger. He immediately returns to Earth. The team holds Gambit's funeral. Nightcrawler gives a farewell speech, while Jubilee reacts with grief and anger, remembering Gambit's sacrifice and love for Rogue. Rogue launches a violent hunt for Gyrich and Trask, attacking a base and extracting Gyrich's location. Her search leads her through Russia, where she teams up with Captain America. She later finds Gyrich in Mexico and absorbs his memories, after which he is killed by a sinister-linked assassin. The X-Men arrive in Genosha for recovery efforts. Beast treats survivors, while Cyclops and Jean share an emotional moment in the Citadel. Jean uses her psychic powers to help rescue a trapped survivor. Trask contacts them from Madripoor, warning he did not expect the scale of destruction. In Madripoor, the X-Men learn Sinister and Operation Zero Tolerance are developing advanced Sentinels. Trask attempts suicide but is transformed into a human Sentinel hybrid. He attacks the X-Men before Cable arrives and helps defeat him. Jean recognizes Cable, and Cyclops learns he is their son. Cable reveals Sinister works with Bastion. Bastion confirms Xavier is alive in space and Magneto is his prisoner. At the Academy, Cable explains that Bastion will use Genosha's destruction to start a global Sentinel war. He also reveals that Bastion's origin is tied to Nimrod and a techno-organic virus. Meanwhile, Bastion begins Operation Zero Tolerance, turning humans into prime Sentinels. Beast discovers widespread Sentinel activation in humans. Trish Tilby is revealed to be one of them. Jubilee and Roberto are attacked by a Sentinel during a shopping trip. Cyclops and Cable are pursued by Sentinels but escape through a mountain tunnel, while Jean shields them psychically. The X-Mansion is destroyed, while Wolverine and Nightcrawler defend an unconscious Rogue against endless Sentinels. Just then, Magneto activates a global magnetic field from the North Pole, disabling all Sentinels and causing a worldwide blackout. At the same time, Xavier returns and is horrified by the devastation. Storm and Forge save Jubilee and Roberto from a mob. Trust in Xavier weakens among the X-Men. Magneto creates Asteroid M as a mutant refuge and rejects coexistence. Rogue and Roberto join him. They split up. Cyclops leads the attack on Magneto, while Storm and Jean target Bastion in the Galapagos. Storm destroys Sentinel attacks mid-flight with total weather control. On the ground, they fight Sinister and Bastion's forces. Sinister takes control of Cable, nearly defeating Jean, who sends a psychic distress signal. Meanwhile, on Asteroid M, Rogue and Roberto defend Magneto. Xavier tries to reach Magneto's mind, but Cyclops blocks him to prevent Bastion's Sentinels from reactivating. Wolverine critically injures Magneto, who retaliates by ripping the adamantium from Wolverine's skeleton. Xavier and Magneto relive their past through a psychic clash. Xavier ultimately shuts down Magneto's mind, but both fall unconscious, which reactivates global Prime Sentinels and causes worldwide chaos. Meanwhile, Bastion attempts to execute Cable, but Jean transforms into Phoenix. She defeats Bastion with the collar and deactivates the Sentinels. Sinister loses his powers. Bastion returns fused with Cable's cybernetics as a massive armored form heading toward Asteroid M. Both teams regroup on Asteroid M. The US launches a nuclear strike. In the final battle, Rogue and Roberto fight Bastion, while Cyclops and Nightcrawler defend the command center. But missiles strike, and Bastion is destroyed. The asteroid falls toward Earth, but they combine their powers to stop it. Xavier awakens briefly and helps redirect the asteroid into space. It explodes, and both he and the X-Men disappear in the aftermath. The season ends with Cyclops and Jean appearing in 3960 AD alongside Mother Ascani and young Nathan. Meanwhile, Rogue, Nightcrawler, Beast, Xavier, and Magneto awaken in ancient Egypt, where they come face to face with En-Saba-Noor. If you want more recaps like this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and let me know what anime you want to see next.